everyone, I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I'm so excited to be joined today with Carlota Pereda, director of Piggy, and Molly Elfman, director of Next Exit. How are you?
Great, thank you. Very nice to be here and to talk with you guys,
Yeah,
especially Mali. I'm such a fan.
I'm such a fan of yours. I saw Piggy last year and I was just blown away. Oh my God, what a voice and direction and care. I was just like, this, please. I loved it. I'm such a fan.
Thank you.
Well, so Carlotta, your film Piggy is bloody and awesome and tackles body image and fatness and horror we don't see. And we're here to talk a little bit about like women in horror. And Mike, I'm curious if with your film, if you saw like backlash from people and especially around like representing women as violent and if there was like a weird reaction around that with your film.
Not really. I haven't seen any
Awesome.
backlash. No, only when with the short film, I did have saying, what kind of, when, I don't know if you guys seen the short film, but the short film ends quite differently than the movie does. And there was this woman said, what are you telling the kids? I was saying, I'm not telling the kids anything. I think you misunderstood. But with the film, no, there's been no backlash, which is kind of surprising, really. Yeah.
No, I love that. Well, that makes me happy then, because I mean, I know that there are a lot more women in horror and a lot of female-focused horror films, but I know that people are still, I don't know, I feel like there's still weird reactions from people. I don't know if you guys have either of you have seen that as filmmakers, as creators. Have you kind of seen that? Molly, I'm curious about your perspective on that as well.
Honestly, I think the people who respond to Next Exit are needing something that is kind of hopeful and dark and earnest and all of that. And there's been a few people who have tried to tear it to shreds, and it's just like, cool, you're having a bad day, man. I get it. Like, I don't know. I think you make these films, and it's the important thing is the people that it resonates with, not the people that it doesn't.
Yeah, of course. And so I would like to hear from both of you, I'm starting with Molly, about like your process in working with your actors, like getting these incredible performances, because both of these films are rooted in some really amazing performances. So Molly, I wanted to hear from you about like your approach to directing your actors, but also like what that process is like and how collaborative it is with them as well.
Entirely different for both of my actors. Katie was in depth. I think we read through every single line together. We talked about the script, very much the world. Rahul came on. He had just finished Midnight Mass and kind of got thrown to the wolves with us, but he understood the kind of macro level of what Teddy was going through. And he also intrinsically kind of understood this character on a level. I had hidden all these gems and he found them all immediately. For him, it was all about what happened before this film took place, what's happening after this film took place. And so it wasn't so much about the script. He really wanted to know about his dad and everything else. So it was really funny because they were entirely opposite in their approach, entirely opposite how they worked. And I got them on their first Zoom together and they were like, and I was like, this is going to be amazing. Because what you don't want to do is put two people who are the same in a car together. That would be boring as hell. Instead, you want that natural kind of like energy. And the trick to that was that they always respected the differences of one another, that they were different and they liked that about the other person and they were able to work with each other. And I was able to kind of intentionally kind of create a little bit more drama and tension by being able to like twerk that a little bit as we went. Tweak, it's not twerk. That's a different word.
I like that. Like, using twerk for that way. I like
I didn't
that.
twerk. I didn't twerk while making this film, I promise.
And then Carlotta, I'd love to hear how you worked with Laura, because you've worked with her on the short and the feature, and she is like a force in these films. And wanted to hear about your kind of process in working with her, especially because she's going through so much in Piggy.
Yeah. Well, with the short, we rehearsed a bit, but not as much as I wanted. And with the feature, what we did is like we discussed the screenplay so much. And also before when I was writing the screenplay, I will drop things on her like, she will do that and she will, oh my God, really? And why? So we had a lot of discussion before we started shooting. And we did rehearse, we go through the lines, we go through each scenes to see the motivation behind every action and in every action. I do the screenplay is basically her voice. She doesn't speak much, but if you read the screenplay, you understand exactly what she's feeling, because I thought when you give it to producers need to know which movie they're going to see. So I thought, well, the screenplay is going to be her thoughts, which is sadly what they tell you not to do. And So that's the screenplay was the basis for everything, and then we discovered together how she would walk, how she would breathe, and she is such a talented actress, and she's so empathetic, and she's so brave as well because she gives herself to the emotions without holding back. So we really did this movie hand in hand, and it was really such a question of trust in one another. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that the two of you are fans of each other's work, and I was curious if either of you had a question for the other one, or like how like wanted to pick each other's brains, not to like give you the floor for interviewing, but I was just curious if either of you like had questions for the other about the work that you've done.
Yeah, I have a question. You were scared that you had to rely on only two characters for the whole movie in a car. Was there any kind of fear when you were writing the screenplay, or
I,
while you were
yeah.
uh, setting the movie?
I think I knew from the get-go if that didn't work, I was screwed. And I was just like, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know if this is your experience. I didn't I've worked with a lot of first-time directors as a producer, but this is my first time directing. And I really, what I didn't know what I would be. I didn't know who I would come out of at the other side. And I really went into this being like, I might fail entirely, but I'm going to fail with my truest intentions and putting my best self forward and be present every single day. And so that was really like, I understood why, this script was like, nobody wanted to make the script for a very long time. And I get why, because it is challenging, because if you don't accomplish the emotional core, it just falls flat on its face. Like there's not a lot to, sell the film other than that. So I was always, I wasn't really nervous because I kind of knew it, and I was just like, let's go. And I feel like the biggest thing that I see with first time feature directors is fears of not succeeding. And I knew that that would only hurt me. So instead I was just like, why did I write this? What did I want? And just thought about that. And but yeah, I kind of have the same question. I mean, for me watching your film, it was like, I feel like I'm kind of this, you know, uh ethereal, wandering through the clouds, talking, but yours was so specific. Yours was so intentional and direct. And not that I didn't have intention and all the rest of that, but I just loved how bold it was with all of those choices and such specific choices. How did you feel going into that? Were you nervous about that, or did you just know what you wanted the whole time?
I think I was just being reckless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought you have to do movies when like you're going to die the next moment. Like you say, in Spain, there's an expression that you do it with an open tomb.
Mhm.
Like it's just you're just waiting to fall into it. So that's what we did. And if I felt that it was exciting for whatever reason, I would do it, even if it was weird. I remember when we were doing the last scene when she wakes up in that place where she wakes up,
Mhm.
and Laura said, "Imagine if I snore." And I said, "Oh yes, please do it." And she said, "No, I can't do it." I said, "Yes, please do it." And she went, "Okay, I trust you. I will do it." And maybe it was not the, I don't know, I thought it was, if you just something that, I do have a lot of trust in my reptilian brain. So
Yeah.
if it tingles in the reptilian brain, it goes in.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Trusting your reptilian brain. That's advice I feel like many of us creators should listen to, in my opinion.
Yes.
But before we have to wrap up, I just wanted to hear from both of you about why you love the horror genre, or like just genre films. Because I know horror is such a wide label, like it's such a flexible label, but I wanted to hear from both of you about why you love it so much and why you like working with it. And Molly, I wanted to start with you with that question.
I mean, I don't think I made a horror film. I made something horror adjacent, and I used some horror
Yeah.
tropes. And I would really like to make my next film. I really want to make a horror film. I love horror. I've worked in it for ages. That's all I want to do. I need some blood. But this one for me was like my emotional core, and I'm so glad it was my
Yeah.
first film, because it was one that I knew inside and out. It was my heart, it was my soul, and I got more confident as I went, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I love about horror is it allows you to tackle really difficult conversations in fun, easy to consume ways. That's the whole point. Is, if I had to watch certain subject matters in a drama, it's just so hard and it's so heavy. You get to add this flair, and you get to have some fun with difficult material. And I think we I read the news. It's hard. It's every day is hard. I want to be able to talk about important issues, but I also want to be able to have some relief and catharsis. And I think that's really what horror is. That's what I love about horror. And when it's done well, what I think it really is able to accomplish.
Oh yeah. And then Carlota, same question.
Well, I stand behind everything Mali said, basically. And also you can push themes a bit further, and not for the already convinced. You know, some people may go into a horror movie and then find something that really opens their eyes, in a sense. But basically, I also want to have fun, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
And
think
then
they can have fun as well, in a sense, even if they're having a hard time.
yeah.
You know?
And then just on an ending on that note, what is a film that you really love that you think kind of pushes boundaries in the genre, Carlotta?
You know, I love Mandy. I
Oh,
absolutely love Mandy. I think
such a
it's
good.
one of the best movies about grief. But it
Yes.
has
Oh, it's
also, yeah, and it has Nicolas Cage in it. So what more do we want?
yeah. And then same question for you, Molly.
There's like 20 films that just rattled through my head. So it's really hard. I will say one of the films that I always go back to, one of my favorite films of all time, is The Orphanage, and the conversation about motherhood, and the difficulties of it. And from that, and you never know where you stand with it. And one of the most terrifying, but also one of the most heartfelt experiences.
I just watched that for the first time recently, and I was like, I've never been so upset and so scared at the same time. I love horror movies.
You know, I just finished a movie with an umbrella as a leading actress, the actress of The Orphanage.
Really?
Yeah, just
Oh
now.
my God.
Well, I'm actually editing it now. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Oh my God, wow. Full circle.
I was gonna say full circle. Well,
Yeah.
Molly, Carlotta, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about your films and everything. I really appreciate it. This has been a joy.